Hey guys, what is going on? It is me, BakuriBox12 here, and welcome back to another Realm of the Mad God item discussion video. Last time we looked at the Ray Katana, and now we're going for the Dirk of Cronus. Yet another event white, our other white bag weapon, in fact. In any case, this item is a classic. Dirk of Cronus has always been one of my favorite items, and a big part of that is due to its looks. This is a beautifully sprited item. In fact, for the most part, the sprite work of the equipment in this game is so well done that it almost always properly indicates an item's rarity. Even as a new player, you can usually look at someone's gear and kind of tell how good it is just based on looks. Lower tier equipment is usually a bit flat, wooden, plain, but the higher up you go, you start to see more details and vibrant colors. It's an aspect of the game I've always commended and I think deserves indefinite praise. So let's talk about that Cronus. This is an item that has quite a history. In fact, it's even received a buff in the past. But way back before the buff happened, before Kabam, before we had all these other items, there were only two main daggers: Foul and Cronus. It was a simpler time. Cronus gave you more damage at lower range. Very basic concept we've seen done time and time again. It's yet another case of Sea Sword and Acclaim. Cutlass and Acclaim. Giving an item more range for less damage, and less range for more damage, is an age-old concept. The closer you have to get to a target, the more dangerous things are going to be. So your reward will be higher if you're able to survive. That's all well and good, but this started to become a bit of a problem, and most people would point to the Etherite dagger. And yes, that really was the tipping point that made Cronus way less viable. But I actually think this started back whenever Spirit Dagger came out. Now, its DPS does not compete with Cronus at all. That's not the problem. What this did was it started a trend of a lot of daggers doing the same thing. That is, changing range for altered damage. Spirit Dagger has 0.4 less range than Foul, but higher maximum potential damage. It also has a really low minimum, but its overall DPS actually averages out to be consistently better than Foul, all the way through. The reason that I view this as a problem is because it was the first step of a new dagger being more like Cronus. It even has a purple hue. Yeah, the damage is still a lot lower, but it has more range, and it's a more common drop coming from Davy Jones. But then, Etherite Dagger came in. ST sets were new, they were fun, we already had Pixie Sword, which is another really good ST weapon that kind of alienates a similar UT. And Etherite pretty much did what Cronus did, but even more. You had even less range at 3.8 instead of 4.5, and superior DPS pretty much all the way through. Now, as I'm sure you already know, there are two major problems with this. First of all, it's way too similar to Cronus. Why is that a problem, you ask? Because Etherite is an ST, dropping from a Godlands dungeon. Cronus is an event white bag that's been around since the dawn of time. It's a considerably more rare item that has a legacy and respectable title behind it. The other major problem is Etherite was tradable. In fact, it still is. The legacy version of the item is not soulbound, so not only was it arguably better than Cronus, you could also trade for it, making it even more common. I think you get the picture. As stated, they did eventually release a patch to balance out these two items. Etherite was weakened, Cronus was buffed, but Etherite is still the winner up to about 60 defense. But in this day and age where we have the new UT Poison that armor breaks, Augmers dropping from Keeper, the Samurai lowering defense, high defense targets aren't as much of an issue as they once were. And that's not even including the Symbiotic Ripper, another ST weapon that has even higher damage than both of these daggers, but the same range as Foul. Yes, the projectile speed is slower, so it's a lot harder to hit moving targets, but let's be real, a lot of things in this game either stand still or can be dragged, so that's not a big hindrance. And again, it bears repeating, this wouldn't be a huge deal if Cronus wasn't an event white. It's the same thing that I said with Ray Katana. I like Ray Katana. It's a decent item in its own right, but to have the title and rarity of dropping from an event god? Not so much. And because of how old Cronus is, I don't really want to rework or change it. Yeah, you could default its rate of fire back to 100, buff up its damage a little bit more, maybe give it +6 attack in addition to the wisdom. That way the stat bonuses and sprite colors would match even more. Blue for wisdom, pink for attack. I would say ideally we don't want Etherite to beat out Cronus past 30 defense. I think a simple buffing of stats is really all you have to do for this kind of item. But if you want to get experimental, why not just make Cronus do it all and give it some kind of proximity-based damage increase? So the closer that you are to the target, the more damage your weapon does. The further away you are, the weaker it becomes. In that sense, it would sort of become Etherite as you approach closer to an enemy, and as you back away, it becomes standard Cronus. What would Etherite then be good for in that case? Heck if I know, but at least the white bag would be the better item again. Why not just nerf the ST weapons a little bit, and then with each piece of the set that you wear, the weapon becomes better, eventually restoring its original power, and maybe even becoming better. Isn't that the whole point of STs to begin with? Not so good on their own, but great when together? That would probably start incentivizing incentivizing people to wear more pieces of those sets. And in the case of Ripper, it would actually give you more reason to play the Assassin, because he would be the only class that could realize the Ripper's full potential. I understand not wanting to restrict people's playstyles too much, but at some point you gotta draw a line between UTs and STs, and I think when it comes to an event white, up against 2 mid-tier dungeon ST drops, the expected winner should be clear. What do you guys think? Should Cronus be buffed? Does it need a rework? Should we not touch a legacy item like that and leave it unchanged? Simply nerf the ST abilities that are competing with it? Let me and everyone else know down below. In the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, don't forget to check out the next episode whenever I post it, which will probably be soon. Alright. See ya.